she was stuttering all over the place. I mean, it took her ages to get a sentence out. And I've noticed with Reeves, when she's fibbing, she stutters, totally ridiculed and shamed. And made a monkey out of because of her loony policies. This is why she stutters, because she knows she's talking rubbish. He's got to get tougher with Trump. He could actually say, stick your trade deal where the sun don't shine. He's a gutless coward. NHS has been infiltrated and is in the thrall of trans activist groups. It is outrageous that medical professionals should be made to call a bloke with a beard who says he's a woman a woman. It's ridiculous. This is just another example of the NHS just ignoring the law of the land. It's ridiculous that, we're talking about, people with cervixes. They're women. Call them women.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Expresso. I want to caught me then.
You did,
Hello.
You did.
I'm JJ Anisiobi and this is the wonderful Carole Malone.
What's the matter with you? Shouting your head off. You've got a microphone. It's precisely why you don't have to shout.
Carole, do you like my little green handkerchief?
Yeah, but we just noticed there's a big mark on your jacket. I mean, there's a mess on you every week somewhere.
I'm wearing this green for you.
At least why green for me?
Because this is about green for STEM is for everyone. And there's lots of...
what did you just say there? It's what for everyone?
STEM.
STEM for everyone.
STEM for everyone. Science, technology, engineering and mathematics.
Oh, I see, right.
Yeah,
okay,
and
right.
it's underrepresented by women. Yeah, there's a lot of gender bias in STEM.
Quite complex, that. It's a complex reason why I'd be wearing a green suit.
I'm wearing it in solidarity. Today it's that I wear green for STEM.
I think you're wearing because it's probably the first thing that came to your hand when you stumbled out of bed this morning.
I'm doing this for women in STEM.
Yeah.
And you are apparently a woman.
We don't need you. Don't
Wonderful.
We'll manage without you.
Well, speaking of women who don't need me, Rachel Reeves. She jetted off to Davos.
Yeah.
She's been mocked horrendously online. She was stuttering through a panel discussion. She was making all kinds of claims that Britain's super stable and that the US is too reliant on China for their minerals. But is she out of her depth out there?
Oh, my God, totally and utterly. She's very lucky that the situation at the moment in the world with Trump and Greenland is all raging around her because that's the subject in Davos. And there's no attention on the fact that she's wrecked the British economy and that Britain is the basket case. And what always gets me is, I think she's not well because when she says stuff like she did today where she said, in a volatile world, Britain is stable, trying to make out that, while everything is going wrong everywhere else, it's all going well in Britain. Well, it's not, because since Labour came to power, thanks to her policies, 220,000 jobs have been lost. We heard this week that something like 1,400 jobs a day have been lost in the past couple of months. The hospitality industry is on its backside, thanks to her. We've got higher taxes. We've got hikes in the minimum wage. All of this is making life really difficult for business. And there is she saying it's all peachy in Britain, and it isn't. And as she was saying this, she was stuttering all over the place. I mean, it took her ages to get a sentence out. And I've noticed with Reeves, when she's fibbing, she stutters because she knows it's a fib and she knows it's a lie. But, they must look at her, all these kind of, these very seasoned politicians in Davos. They must look at our Chancellor and think, poor Britain. I mean, I know we think that because we say it in action every day, but they must look and think, what happened to this once great country when we had big beasts as chancellors in this country? And now we've got the stuttering Rachel Reeves who... together with her Prime Minister, have done 13 U-turns this year. She actually said something like, she said, our plan is the right one. Well, if their big plan was the right one, they wouldn't have had to do 13 U-turns, would they?
but in terms of her stuttering, maybe she just isn't a good public speaker anymore because she knows whatever she says, she'll be under pressure, so she gets nervous and stutters and stammers.
No, in opposition, she was a very powerful public speaker. When she was telling us all how she was going to revolutionise this country, change it, she knew exactly what she was going to do with the economy. She didn't have any problem stuttering back then. It's only since she's got into power and been totally ridiculed and shamed and made a monkey out of because of her loony policies. This is why she stutters, because she knows she's talking rubbish and she can't hide the fact. Her psyche will not let her hide the fact she's talking rubbish.
Well, look, yeah, okay, the UK is not in a great position.
We're not.
But we are comparatively doing better than than most of the other countries in Europe.
No. Well,
Yeah, France basically have no government. They can't govern anything. Germany's in a recession.
yeah, but our growth, I've forgotten the figure. It's something like 0.7%. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something. Our growth is minuscule. So although I think we're on a par with the rest of Europe. I don't think we're doing that much better than them. It's
Well, PricewaterhouseCoopers have released their global CEO survey this week, and the UK is second only to the US as the most attractive destination for international investment. We should be cheering from the rafters for this.
Why? How can that be when we're losing entrepreneurs every 5 minutes in this country, when they've fled this country? And that's already been talked about at Davos, that entrepreneurs and creative people are leaving this country. So where did that figure come from?
From PricewaterhouseCoopers Global CEO Survey. They're pretty, PwC is pretty respectable.
Well, a lot of companies are leaving this country as we speak. So thank God some are coming. But I don't think it's down to anything she's done.
Right, well, let's talk about her boss, Keir, never here,
Yes.
Starmer.
Yes.
Him and Trump. I heard today that Trump basically said he won't guarantee a face-to-face meeting with him at Davos, which is why Starmer decided not to attend.
Which is interesting because he's attended every other.
Yeah, he's never here.
He's never here. He's never here at all. But I think, he's got to get tougher with Trump. But the problem for him is that he's a gutless coward. That's his first problem. His second problem is that he's trying to ride two horses. He's trying to not offend Donald Trump by kind of not saying too much bad about what he's doing in Greenland, and he's trying to keep the EU on side, or the European countries and the NATO countries. But the trouble is, you can't ride two horses, because with Donald Trump, you're either all in or all out. And if you're not totally in 150% on his side, well, then as far as he's concerned, you're stupid. And that's exactly what Trump called Starmer in the last 24 hours, mainly talking about the Chagos Island, but stupid in general. But the problem for us is, and the problem for the rest of Europe who are now talking about Greenland at Davos, it's the big subject. They all want meetings with Trump. The problem for Europe and the NATO countries is that we have made ourselves pathetically dependent on Trump for our national security. We haven't beefed up our militaries over the years, and the feeling has always been, America will take care of us.
Yeah.
And so Trump, and that might have been all right with past presidents, but with Trump, there's no such thing as a free lunch. He knows that NATO aren't going to do anything to him. They're not going to do anything to stop him, because without the US, NATO's going to fall.
Yeah.
And security in all those countries is put at risk. And we have done this to ourselves by making ourselves pathetically dependent on the US. And so Trump is going to he'll probably get his own way. I don't know how he's going to get it, but he's always said that he will take Greenland one way or another. And, he said he may invade. He won't invade. However, by putting the tariffs on all these countries, 10% tariffs now, and that's going to go up to 25% in June if they don't capitulate, he could irrevocably damage all the countries. One, that 10% tariff will put us into immediate recession, and God knows what it'll do in the rest of Europe and the rest of the NATO countries. But the guy now, I'm a fan of Trump in many ways. I admire his courage. I admire the fact that he doesn't give a stuff about what anybody else thinks. He does America first. However, on this, I think he's entirely wrong. And I think Starmer is entirely right. Now, you'll never hear me say that again.
Sorry, so you disagree with Trump, and you're saying that spineless Starmer is absolutely right.
Yes. In saying that it's wrong for Trump to do what he's doing, it is wrong.
Okay.
But the thing with Starmer is he doesn't follow that up with any kind of threat, with any kind of... There's lots of things he could do, to upset Trump. He could cancel the King's state visit in September this year. He could say, we're not coming. He could actually say, stick your trade deal where the sun don't shine. But he won't do any of that because he just doesn't have the power to take a stand. And there's Ursula von der Leyen saying what she's saying. Macron moaning about what's happening in Greenland. But, as Trump said today, who cares what he thinks about anything? He's not going to be in power this time next year, which is also a fact. There's not much Trump says that isn't true. It might be abhorrent, but it's mostly true. So, yeah, it would be lovely if he did get tougher on him, but he's not going to because he literally can't. One, he's not genetically made that way to get tough on anybody. And two, I don't believe he's got any chips to play with. And that's the problem. And Trump knows it.
But let's say Nigel Farage was Prime Minister right now. Do you think he'd be tougher on Trump?
Yes, I do. And he already has been. He actually said on the day that, this was like the start of the week this week, when Starmer was saying this is wrong, Nigel Farage actually said, this is a hostile act. This is not acceptable, and I will be having words when I go to Davos. That is way stronger than anything that Starmer said. And he says that as a pal of Trump's. And I think, yes, I think he would be tough. I think he would be tougher than Starmer is being right now.
All right. Let's move on. Common sense has prevailed at last. Nurse Jennifer Mell, who was removed from duty after speaking publicly to the media about receiving a warning for using the wrong pronouns, has been cleared in this internal disciplinary meeting. So,
I mean, let's just tell people what happened to her. The reason that she got suspended in the first place, and this has been going on for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
She was dealing with a transgender paedophile, a trans woman paedophile.
Who had a beard.
And
was 6 foot tall.
And she called him Mr.
Yeah.
He was upset about that. And
he then called her the N-word 3 times and tried to attack her.
Exactly. That as well. And then, and she then spoke about it, and she was reprimanded for that. And she spoke about this publicly, whistle blew. And instead of her being protected from this, they took the side of the paedophile trans woman, and they suspended her then. And for the last 2 years, she's been hanging on, not knowing whether she's going to keep her job, whatever. But this is just another example of how the NHS has been infiltrated and is in the thrall of trans activist groups. It is outrageous that medical professionals should be made to call a bloke with a beard who says he's a woman a woman. It's ridiculous. She was quite right to call him Mr. because that's exactly what he is. And I thought all this nonsense had been got rid of after the Supreme Court ruling in April last year. But the NHS just seems to be, as are other institutions, just ignoring it. They're still on the side of it's not that they shouldn't be on the side of trans people. Of course they should. But, a health service has to be realistic. Men and women are treated differently, often for the same illnesses. And it's ridiculous that we're calling women chest feeders so as not to upset 0.5% of the population.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that, we're talking about, people with cervixes. They're women. Call them women, and this is just another example of the NHS just ignoring the law of the land because a small caucus inside the NHS is sympathetic towards the trans movement. Now, I am not unsympathetic, but it upsets me when, one, it infringes on women's rights in their safe and single spaces, and it upsets me when it interferes with healthcare.
And this definitely does. The paedophile had a urinary tract infection.
Yeah.
Men and women have to be treated differently for those things.
For those urinary tract
It's absolutely nuts that the NHS defended the paedophile instead of their own nurse. Shame on the NHS. Shame on Unison. And even the Royal College of Nursing. None of these people did anything.
And shame on Bridget Phillipson, who was supposed to come out with some kind of guidance for the NHS. I mean, this she was supposed to. She said she would do this after the Supreme Court ruling. And as yet, she hasn't. So hospitals are still making the same mistakes that they were making before the Supreme Court ruling. One of their rulings was that a trans person should be allowed to use the toilet of their choosing and no one can be allowed to challenge them. And I will guarantee that is still happening. And it should be. And that's why Phillipson has to come out. And the reason she hasn't come out with guidance is because she too is on the side of the trans minority. And she thinks exactly like the people within the NHS.
Well, it's a good week for our nurses. The Darlington nurses, they were also finally cleared.
Yes.
No longer did they have to get changed in a changing room with a man who says he's a woman but is married to a woman.
And wears holy boxer shorts so everything's on view.
And
you know, the fact that that had to go to a tribunal, it's fact
nuts.
That the law had to be brought in. How much money has been spent on Jennifer's case and on the Darlington nurses' case? Money that could have been spent on sick and dying people, and yet has been spent propping up a ridiculous ideology. that the NHS will not drop.
Yeah.
But, those Darlington nurses, we're all hailing them now and saying they're heroes. But at the time, when it was happening, it was a big thing they did in taking on the NHS, because it could have gone either way. And sometimes it looked like it was going to. And thank God for people like J.K. Rowling and Sharon Davis, who were backing them, and all the others, people like Mayor Forstater, who fought this battle on Twitter. And thank God they've come out victorious. They shouldn't have had to fight the fighter, but thank God they did and won.
You're absolutely right. All that money wasted that could have been spent on
Sick people.
Training more nurses.
Yes.
Jeez Louise.
Yes.
But sticking with the NHS, you want to talk about elderly patients in corridors.
Yes. There was a Freedom of Information request was published this week. Age Concern put it through. And it turns out that 100,000 elderly people from 60 to over 80 are being treated in corridors regularly, but 50,000 of those people are over 80 years old. Now, this is just beyond. This is undignified. It's disgusting. This is treating human beings like bits of rubbish, like that detritus, and the people being treated on corridors. The Royal College of Nursing spoke out recently and said how angry they were at the degradation of patients in these corridors. People are having to hold up white sheets while nurses and doctors perform really personal, intrusive procedures on people. They cited examples of how one elderly person was left in a hard chair in a hospital corridor, a sick person, for 4 days.
Oh.
There was another case of an elderly person who died choking in a corridor, no one there to help. So we have corridors where there are dead bodies and no one knows they're there because no one is taking care of them. And this is worse than the health service in the third world. The thing about elderly people, and I remember when my mum was ill and was spending a long time in hospital, the thing about them is dignity. They need dignity. And there is no dignity when a nurse is lifting your nightie off and putting stuff inside you in a busy hospital corridor. One guy today who was on a TV show I was on rang in to talk about how his wife died, his elderly wife, who had gone in with a simple urinary tract infection. She was in that corridor for more than 24 hours. They weren't tending to her. They did an X-ray, said, you're fine. She was dead 24 hours later of this urinary tract infection because no one gave her an antibiotic. This is not the way to treat human beings, and it's especially not the way to treat elderly, sick people.
Well, maybe they should, some of these hospitals, instead of spending a few £1,000 to paint a rainbow on the ground.
Exactly.
Maybe they should buy more beds, more bigger wards.
You know, JJ, I think the NHS budget for 25-26 is 202 billion quid. How can you not have beds when you have a budget that size?
Yeah.
People are. There was some kind of left winger that I was talking with this morning, and he was saying, all the problems that the hospitals have, shortage of staff, shortage of this. There shouldn't be a shortage of beds. There shouldn't be a shortage of rooms with a bed where you can put someone and cover them and keep them warm at least.
Yeah.
Not have them in a drafty, horrible, dirty corridor.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to our final story. Is it Brooksite? Is it Bexit? How would you want to say?
Do you know, I mean, the question has been asked, is this the end of Brand Beckham? I kind of hope it is. Before this happened, I used to look at Brooklyn Beckham and I used to think he was a bit of a thick, useless Nepo baby. And then I read what he said the other day. And it really struck a chord with me, and I thought, my God, I really believe it to be true. And
what did he say?
Right, let me give you some of the things that he said. He said, for my entire life, my parents have controlled the narratives in the press about our family. He said, my family values public promotions and endorsements above all else. He said they what was the other thing they said? He said, Brand Beckham comes first in our family. Now, and he was talking about, Becks and Posh have a nickname for their son now, which I read about today. They call him the hostage because he's married to Nicola Peltz. Now, this seems to have been the thread. This seems to have where the trouble started because Victoria did not get on with Nicola Peltz. Maybe that's because her family... her dad Nelson is a billionaire, 1.5 billion quid, and the Becks have a measly 328 million quid, and are way less powerful than the Pels family. So it struck me, and I could see it in the beginning where Victoria was very determined to control the narrative over that relationship with Brooklyn. He also said, the performative social media posts, the family events involving relationships, involving, what was the word he used, inauthentic relationships, have been a fixture of my life forever. Now, and I believe that to be true. And he said, in my family, love is about how many social media posts you put out. And God help me, I believe him. I actually do believe him. And I think this is very bad for the brand, and I think it's very bad for David and Victoria, because they have spent a 25-year career while they've been building up their billions saying that family is everything. Family is all. Nothing matters as much as family. And yet some of the stories that Brooklyn is telling, like the one at the wedding where
his mom danced inappropriately on him. She grinded him.
She also took the first dance. But the one that got me, I mean, both of the things are awful and humiliating, as he said, but the thing that got to me was Brooklyn and Nicola wanted their two grannies at the top table. Because both grannies didn't have husbands, and they wanted them there to feel okay. But Posh called him evil for that, apparently. She obviously wanted the big flash rich people at the top table and the grannies somewhere down. So for a woman who bangs on about family being all, that didn't show much love for family right there, did it? That was David's mum she wanted consigned to a different table.
Yeah.
While she hobnobbed with the billionaires. And I think it's really sad. I do. Someone said to me today, what right have we got to poke our noses into the lives of these people? Well, mainly because Posh and Becks have made their family public property.
Yeah.
Since the minute they were born, they have been front and centre of everything that happens. And it was all about building the brand.
Yeah.
And Victoria will be very angry. And, the reports that I've read today saying that she's incandescent, that she's lost the narrative.
Yeah, she will be furious. She absolutely will be. I've met Brooklyn Beckham a number of times. Really nice kid. Very, very, very stable, very shy. He's never been... There's lots of celebrity offspring who I would see falling out of nightclubs at 3 a.m. You could tell they're on drugs and all this kind of thing. Never the case with Brooklyn Beckham.
Do you know what I think about him as well? I have been part of the press pack that have taken the mickey out of all the careers he's had a crack at. Photographer, chef, and telling us how to make a fish and chip sandwich, stuff like that. But now I'm thinking, did they push him into that to exploit get another Beckham into the brand to start making money and creating stuff?
Yeah.
Did they shove him into that? Because why would he want to do that with all the ridicule he got as a result of it? And all he wants to do now is get on with married life with his wife. But the Beckhams have made it known today, through their pets in the media, that the only way they can see this getting better is if he's not with Nicola anymore. Now, that's them putting it out there to him. You're not ever coming back into the fold until she's gone. And remember the knighthood ceremony when there was all this stuff being talked about how he should have been there and he chose not to go? He offered to meet his father. Brooklyn says this. He offered to meet his dad privately, away from cameras, just to talk. And he was told that wasn't possible. If he brought his wife, that wasn't possible. It would be possible if he left Nicola at home. How can you say that?
This does mirror a little bit Harry and Meghan.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in this case, we're defending the wife. With Harry and Meghan, it's generally Meghan being told that she's controlling.
You know why? No, I think it does. It is. There are similarities. However, the royal family made Meghan very welcome from the very start. They kind of broke the rule book with Meghan. She was a film star, not royal material, but they welcomed her into the fold. They welcomed the fact, they welcomed her colour. They wanted to introduce, more diversity into the royal family, and they made her incredibly welcome. They bent over backwards. It strikes me that Victoria Beckham has not bent over backwards to accommodate Nicola Peltz.
All I would say to Brooklyn is that absolutely, if you feel you've been controlled and manipulated by your family, then you're absolutely right to pull away. But give back every single thing that your mum and dad have bought for you. The many £100,000 watches, the £200,000 sports car your mum and dad bought you for your wedding. Pretty much all of his clothing. Yes, because what's he done to earn those things?
Well, he hasn't done anything. But
exactly.
Most kids that are given gifts by their parents have done very little to earn them. And it doesn't
most
matter.
Kids are not given homes and sports cars by their parents, are they?
The price of the gift doesn't matter. What matters is you give a gift and you give it with love. You don't ask for it back, and you shouldn't want it back. It shouldn't be. Okay, if you're not going to talk to me, give me everything back that I gave you. That's not the way families work. But I think the only reason he spoke out when he did was because they weren't speaking to the media directly, but they were. Stuff was being put out all of the time about them, and it made him look bad, and it made Nicola look even worse. And I think he just thought, enough now, enough. I'm going to tell the truth, and God knows what else there is to tell.
There's plenty more to come.
I think so.
There's plenty more to come. Right. Carole, thanks. I am exhausted after that.
I'm a little bit. I don't feel like I'm spent.
Yeah.
Are you?
I am. We need some more caffeine.
We need a bit. Yeah. I wanted to do something funny, but there's nothing funny happening, is there?
We can talk about your outfit if you want to talk about something funny.
I could be looking at I'm totally yours on a green scarf. That's even funny. Don't go there with me. Yeah, marks on your jacket. Get them to the dry cleaners, love. You weren't enough.
Don't forget, you can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But for now, on the Daily Expresso, from me and Kaz, it's bye-bye.